So, Robert, I love what you said before about the metaphysical meanings behind Santa Claus and the Christmas tree and the three wise men. Are there any more thoughts that you have that you'd like to share?
Yes. About everything. Like the thing about the Christmas tree is very interesting because, and I want to talk about the Christmas tree and Santa and the three wise men and the meaning of Christmas and the Christos. You know, the tree, it's all wrapped around the tree because we cut the tree down. In other words, our outer nature dies, and then we bring it into the inside and illuminate it with our lights. And it's not electricity. On a metaphysical level and a spiritual soul level, we take the experience that we've had that's gone now. We've had experiences. We're still alive. We didn't die. We're still alive. We've had experiences in the world with education and love and truth and friends and work and suffering and being sick and pleasuring and all these experiences we've had in life. And when we're alone, the word alone is all one. I mean, again, this is a metaphysical wrap on Christmas, and it's primordial symbolism and images that we do unconsciously that have some deeper meaning. I mean, the idea behind like Mayflower Bookshop and metaphysical inquiry and research, spiritual scientific research, but also just spiritual research for your soul, you know, for your awakening mind, is to try to find meaning and purpose in life. And why do we do the Christmas tree? Is it just like a pagan thing, or is it like a dumb thing to do? Or does it have some deep meaning that we can't quite understand? And again, I could talk about all the different sports and baseball and football and esoteric meaning to it, or any of the festivals of Easter, Ishtar, or Passover. I mean, every Hanukkah, there's all these like deep spiritual meanings to the inner person, the soul. A human being is spirit, soul, and body. And the body we know about: measure, number, and weight, eating, going to the bathroom, pleasuring, feeling pain. We understand the body: uprightness, running, playing, good and bad, pleasurable or not pleasurable. But the spirit is a part of us that is connected to everything in the universe, past, present, and future. Our spirit, if we could awaken it, is like a radio and TV set to everything going on everywhere at all times. And we can choose what to tune into. And our soul, its spirit, is everything, a oneness, and that oneness with everything. And our body is the art of being separate and making something good happen. But in the spirit, we're not separate. We're one with everything. We can experience what everybody experiences. We don't have to own the big house to experience it. We don't have to. I mean, I'm getting a little lost here, but then spirit, soul, body. The soul is the psyche or the mind that's awoken through the spirit. You might say that the sun enlivens the earth or the body, but the mind of the garden is the soul or the psyche, the understanding, what stands under your head, the middle way. So when we look at the Christmas tree, we cut the tree. It's going to die unless we put it in water. And so we put the star on the top. The star represents the solar logos, the fire of the stars and sun, the fire of our higher self, of the spirit of the world. And the water represents our feelings and emotions and our belonging to this material world. The water that you eat and go to the bathroom, that's all through water. Or that you feel these reflections on the water and feelings. And one can be psychic through the feelings of the water in your body. We're mostly composed of water. And the warmth of the blood is the fire. Like the fire that's in the blood and the warmth of the blood is more associated with our reincarnating ego that needs to be trained on the earth to have thinking in a headlight and materialistic senses. So I'm getting complicated probably for most people. So the tree, in biblical sense, of all the ancient Bibles, of all the even pre-Christian ancient pagan times, there's the tree of good and evil, and which is the tree of the nervous system, that runs through the body is a tree. And the good and evil isn't really evil. It's good and bad, I mean, things that help us and things that don't help us. Or, you could say it's pleasure, pain, but we could better say it's things we understand that come to light. We come to light. The Christmas lights, we come to light. So there's the tree of knowledge, that there's good and difficult, challenging things. And then there's the tree of the blood system through our body, which is the tree of life. In the ancient biblical thing, the tree of good and evil comes when we eat the apple. In the mythology of Eve, like who tempts, so-called tempts Adam to eat the apple. And the apple is a huge symbolism in itself. Dunking for apples is one of the first American games of Christmas time. Dunking for apples. You hold your hands behind your back, and only your head can go into the tub of water to dunk for apple. Now, see, the head is the thinking that goes into the watery body of feelings and experience, and it feels good to hug and touch and eat and pleasure the sun on our body and things like that. So what dunking apples was really big in the first 13 colonies of America, in the early days of America, where you hold your hands back behind you and only your head can go in the tub of water. Your thinking has to go to the heart. The apple in your eye is your heart. And so we're trying to get the heart of the experience. The other game, the other game of Christmas in the 13 colonies, besides trying to have the head understand what the heart is experiencing and bringing the heart up to your thinking by plucking with your teeth the apple. This is a big game. Everybody did it. They never understood it. The other game was to spin the bottle. And you spin the bottle, which is like cycle of the seasons. You spin the bottle. We go through the cycle of the seasons. And wherever direction the bottle points is where your true love is. And so a lot of these games were to find your true love, even the dunking for apples. A lot of the games of Christmas time were to help to discover your true love. The mistletoe. The mistletoe wraps itself around the oak. The oak leaves persist all through winter, and they fall off when new ones come. They don't really fall off a lot of times. And the mistletoe is considered by modern people to be a parasite that grows on the all around and cycles around like the Christmas tree, spiraling with the, what is that stuff they put around it?
Garland.
Oh, the garland, or this shiny silver and icicle. Yeah, and it goes all around the Christmas tree, spiraling up the mountain. The Christmas tree is in the form of a triangle, see, which represents fire, by the way, up, or air going upward, pointing upward. It represents fire. And the star at the top is shining down, and all these lights. So I'm talking about the apple is cut sideways. You see the 5-pointed star, and cut up and down. You see the Vesica Pisces, the entranceway to sexuality, or the image of the mouth slightly open, or the image of the eye of Horus, the all-seeing eye of God. You have that you can see, like when you have the apple, you can see remember, if you ate the apple, you would become immortal. It's the spiritual soul that's immortal, that travels from life to life. And in the Christmas tree, all the ornaments symbolize the essence and distillation of our many lifetimes and our experiences and the experience of others. And we decorate our tree of life and tree of knowledge. We decorate it. We have the blood, the tree of life, and we have the knowledge of light and dark and the balance of that when light and dark meet and the rainbow appears and colors appear. So the apple represents this seeing and knowing in this connecting of the symbol for marriage, when you have the two circles joined together and you see that Vesica Pisces symbol again, the symbol of like a fish, actually. Mm-hmm. And you put the triangle of the Christmas tree in there, and you have the fish tail and the fish. And the fish is the two circles that come together as a symbol of the two rings and spirit and matter, or the married couple of male, female, that are going to get married, see, and that's where we meet. That's the Adam and Eve and the first male and female. It's all a mythology of hermetic truth that is within our spiritual soul, that we can intelligently grasp and learn to be enlivened in our head, heart, and will. These are initiation knowledge that is probably dropout knowledge from the ancient Greek and Egyptian mystery schools, even going back to the Sun Oracle of Atlantis, all through the Zoroaster, the star of Zoroaster, Aster's that star, and the idea of gardening is the earth is penetrated with light, and we, in the water and light, birth the seed to renew itself, in gardening. And so we have this apple as a thing where, like Jesus says, be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. And the doves have that shape of that fish again too. You have that funny shape of the entrance way. You have this, you think of the Persian door, that comes, or the rosebud, how it comes to that point, and on each end actually. And so the Christmas tree is the symbol of external nature and our experience of the material worlds that we take in, and we ornate it, bring ornament to it, and color and light by the distillation of our experience, our memories. Our cosmic memory is the spiritual memory of the past, of our many lifetimes, or even all these other people's lifetimes of which we're composed of. When you think about it, the stars give us our intelligence and rhythm, planets give us our rhythm of motion, but the earth gives us our form. And the earth body, people die and they're buried and they're torn in pieces like Dionysius, or the breaking of bread, right? And their spirit's like a wine that goes back to the universe and the etheric forces, but our body is disintegrated into the earth, and people eat that food that is the essence of everything that ever lived. And when you burn gas, it's fossils of human beings and animals and plants, and we burn oil and gas, And so all the past is really present, and it's always going through changes. And so the Christmas tree represents this wide circle. When you think of the Kabbalah in the Tree of Life, you have this upper star, and in my new book coming out on Hermetic Tarot, I talk about this. And when you think of the lightning bolt of Zeus, you think of the Kabbalah, the Kubiel, the magical, like serpentine wisdom of the thing you wrap around the Christmas tree, And when you think of the Kabbalah and the Tree of Life, you have that tether at the top, and then it goes from the invisible into the invisible next one, and it goes in the front to the one off to the left, it goes right down the tree, and then it goes through Dath, and it's invisible, and you can't see it because it's behind the tree, and then it comes out into like the next couple Sephiroth of the Tree of Life in the Kabbalah, and then it goes through the sun invisible, because you can't really look at the sun, it's invisible. And so actually even the motion of the descent of this spiraling down the tree, And so at Christmas you have the higher self above our head, the Christos, the 1,000-petaled lotus of the yogis and the yoginis. Above your head is the 1,000-petaled lotus of the rays of the sun. And it shines down and spirals down, and it awakens our chakras. And all these ornaments and lights are the spiritual sun in its different places in our life. Every moment of our life, every bead on the rosary or mala, every lifetime is a bead or an ornament. And something goes through all that experience. There's a string that goes through, that red string of the Celts, the red string of the Kabbalists, the red string of the Native American, and the red string of the Tibetan Buddhists. You wear these little red strings as a reminder of the warmth of your blood and the fire of the spirit. It's red. But Christmas is red and green because the evergreen, that's that part of us that never dies, like mistletoe, wraps around like a lover on the oak tree, and it never dies, and it's kind of evergreen, and it's kind of like a white berry that's poisonous almost to human beings, but Rudolf Steiner has made it into a cancer therapy. So like, you have like this mistletoe therapy that the anthroposophical doctors use and that Steiner came up with. And it's some kind of like thing that helps us to remember what we're really wrapped around. What are we really wrapped around? That core of the Milky Way, that center of the Milky Way, that star that we follow. And again, the Holy Grail has been broken, and these are all pieces of the Grail. Everything I'm saying are little pieces that we have to string together and ornament our tree, decorate our tree, and bring it color and light to our experiences. Our experiences become colorful when they're meaningful and purposeful, and there's love in it, and the fire of enthusiasm. And so you see, the three wise men are the thinking, feeling, and willing. They're the gold of the heart, and the mirror of the mind, and the frankincense, that's the will and the digestion burning with the sulfur. Like it's like salt, mercury, and sulfur in alchemy. The salt is the preserver of memory. Real memory is meaningful memory and what we're learning from the experience, and the cosmic memory of our many lifetimes in the previous earths and all the people on the planet that we're eating and our food, and we're breathing their breath and everything. We're connected to Buddha and Christ and the Sanat Kumara, like Santa Claus. Santa spells Sanat, which is a star. Sanat is like the chief of all the angels, maybe. The Sanat is the chief of the 6 Buddhas, 6 or 7 Buddhas. If you count emptiness as a virtue, the prajna paramitas are 6 major virtues that open our chakras and cleanse us and purify us and bring us spiritual knowledge. And the 7th one is emptiness, selflessness, willing to learn until everybody's happy. And so the 3 wise men are the physical, emotional, mental, and the purified thinking, feeling, and willing that follow the star to the birthplace of the Christmas presents. So the presents at the bottom of the tree are really the Christmas. All the gifts give us different awarenesses of what we could do. They're gifts of knowledge and wisdom and clothing to our naked spirit. And they're supposed to like help us to appear wherever we need to go, like a Nirmanakaya Buddha. And the top of the tree is that we're totally enlightened and we don't need anything, like the Dharmakaya Buddha. And the whole tree itself is the bliss tree. It's the bliss of virtues and meaningfulnesses. And we got, we went through this difficult experience, but we learned so much, and it's one of the ornaments on the tree, And so that's really getting at Christmas a little bit. And you have this whole idea of the tree of life, and the tree of the life of the tree is really, the tree of life is really the Buddhic nature of all knowing and loving and compassion. And Christmas is a time of compassion and helping the poor and helping the less fortunate. In the Roman Saturnalia, Christmas originally was in March or April, and they moved it to where Mithras, born of a virgin, and Hermes, Horus, born of a virgin, and everybody's born of a virgin, Krishna. And the virgin is the silence on a midnight clear that the Christos, or the solar logos, is born, the Christmas presence. And Santa's this man from the north that comes down through your higher, over your head, comes down through the central channel of your core with the 8 reindeer, and that symbolize the animal nature that reaches a higher octave, the 8, like the 8 candles too of Hanukkah, and the music is the higher octave. So you have this presence of Christmas, the presence of the highest light birthing in the darkness. And you have these higher octaves. Santa's wearing red and white, like the red and white corpuscles, when in the red, white, and blue of the American flag, we added the blues because we have the blues, they came here. They came here. And that was kind of a joke. But there's the blue blood and the red blood, isn't there? Mm-hmm. So that's a whole other thing. The blue blood's trying to return, not go further out into materialism, so that the royalty should return. their great gift that they've. So you have these like reindeers, Dasher, Dancer. That you're dancing, you're dashing, you're prancing. Vixen, which is like elixir. Well, Dunder is an elixir. Vixen is another higher power of spirituality. Comet, shooting comet, Cupid, Eros, right? These are the reindeer. They have virtuous names of these forces of nature. Like Donner or Dunder is like this thing that rises in the alcohol that's really pure. The spirit that rises pure. And Blitzen, with the word Zen in it, the blitz of Zen, the flash of lightning, and so Santa goes, choo, 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 and he flashes around. I mean, it's amazing, the images that go into us, the descent of the Sonic Kumara. Blavatsky in The Secret Doctrine talks about the 7 dhyana buddhis, and that the planets have the spiritual intelligence of the 7 dhyana buddhis, which are the master chakras of the head that ignite the lower chakras in our body. The Sonic Kumara is the chief. The descent of Sonic Kumara, of the living lords of the flame of Venus, the 5-pointed star that's above the tree, that is the resurrection of the 5 senses into the 5 Buddha families, or the 5-pointed star is a symbol. It used to be on American Airlines and Holiday Inn, and of course Hollywood made it into some kind of pagan symbol, but it's really the apple. And the reason that the apple and the 5-pointed star are declared kind of occult and weird is because men have the 6th point. The phallus is the 6th point. And women, it's because 5-pointed star represents women should be at the top of the tree. A woman should be at the top of the tree running this country. Yeah. So that's why people are a little afraid of that 5-pointed star. They go, oh my God, a woman's going to run things, be a star at the top of the tree. Robert Thibodeau, Mayflower Bookshop, is telling you the 5-pointed star, the reason that people are afraid of it, it's the female. It's the feminine wisdom. The word wisdom means feminine. Whenever they say wisdom, it's a feminine wisdom. And it's really a beautiful, beautiful thing, the great goddess, it's at the core. And then the 6th and 7th principle is universal compassion and love and universal truth. But the mind of wisdom is the 5-pointed star. And Venus, the Lords of the Flame came to Earth 18 million years ago, or maybe was it 7? I don't know. 18 million maybe. Secret Doctrine. And gave us intelligence during Lemuria before Atlantis. And these are the Lords of the Flame from Venus. And so Venus, excuse me, when Venus makes its retrograde motion, and then it goes forward again, those retrograde motions form a 5-pointed star, a pentagram. And our pentagon is a 5-pointed star. I'm hoping that love would redeem the world, and not be so hard. So this is like the same idea of Sonic Kumara descending in the Lords of the Flame to give us intelligence and love, the intelligence of love, Venus. Prometheus is that same story, steals the fire of the gods to help poor humanity. That's what we need in this country. It's not just to give money to poor people or less fortunate, to give them an education and good food and shelter. Aristotle said everybody should have that, taking a mothering and a fathering and taking care of good education. And then when you get older and you're an adult, to a degree you give the society to better the world, you're given more money. You don't just get to have a bunch of money, And Ben Franklin thought that way too. So these aren't things that I'm demanding. These are things I'm asking that there should be a more honest conversation about. And in that light, we should have a more honest conversation about, Ishtar and Easter and the death and resurrection of the rose on the dark cross of the Rosicrucian. I mean, all that stuff, And instead of like fireworks on the 4th of July in the summer solstice time, we should have like the offering of the gardens and the scent of the garden and our beautiful summertime experiences being offered to the stars that will hold us during the dark winter nights, And the whole secret of the thaw and autumn Ra, and the falling apple of the Celts, making that sound duh when it hits the earth. And so that it comes from the apple tree again, all these trees being triangular, and this descent of the apple from the higher solar logos. Again, this is like Ahura Mazda of the ancient Persian, the Mazda car we know about, but Ahura Mazda, the first light bulbs being, it's the whole idea of the real light is spiritual illumination, not electricity. Electricity is the aromatic side of it, but we don't have time to talk about that. But we can talk about the light of Shambhala in the five-pointed star that comes down, and that when we go back to the star, into the etheric garden of the real garden of love and truth and mindfulness, in this mini winding path through the fiery nature that arises from within us now. It's a reverse cultist, like Rudolf Steiner's book. So the fire descends and we get born, but then the fire is reborn out of our heart and ascends up to our forehead and our third eye to warm up that thinking from materialistic thinking. This idea of water and fire joining through the breath of a hearty breath. And Santa wears that, the candy cane, as being that, again, that the light, it isn't really white, it's light and the red blood. It's the light that comes through all the universe, through our head senses, and we breathe it into our heart. And our compassion and love and our wish for enlightenment comes from the heart back up. And so that's the sonnet Kumara. The Satan is when we materialistically interpret Christmas. Because there's no Satan or devil. Devil is lived backwards. So when we live backwards and we're destroying life, the wrong Santa is the Satan of just crass materialism without intelligence to heal the earth and honor the last 7 generations and the next 7 generations like all the native people did. And so really the real Santa, is always smiling and laughing and taking care of the kids. He's interested in taking care of the kids, and giving them Christmas presents in a belief in the future. That's what we need to do. And Christmas originally was in March and April when the angel told Mary she was going to conceive. And then they say that Jesus was conceived and, that he had everything happen then enlightened. Like Buddha was born, got enlightened, and died and went to enlightenment all in the full moon in May. And so they had that kind of idea originally for Jesus, that he's conceived and he gets enlightened and he's, all that stuff. Everybody kind of borrows from each other. Mithras too, the 12 trials of Mithras, the 12 days of Christmas. Mithras was the 12 trials, that the 12 labors of Hercules and Ulysses. I mean, you go through the 12. See, 3 is the physical, emotional, mental, as the 3 represents the spiritual body on a more practical, earthly understanding. The 7 are the 7 planets, sacred planets and chakras, and 7 notes of music of the soul life. The 12 is the resurrection, the healing, and the purification of the 12 nerves of the nervous system, and the 12 signs of the zodiac of this spiritualization. And this has a lot to do with the dodecahedron and the 5-pointed star that Steiner uses for the foundation stone of the Gurtiana, but we don't have time to go into that. And so we're really talking about the 12 purifications through the 12 days of Christmas. And if you begin on the winter solstice, you have to experiment. I don't have time to go into it now, but the 12 days of Christmas now are the 12 days from the solstice to January 2nd. Now, again, because of the precession of the equinox, that's a whole problem where after 325 and the end of the 300 ADs, in the 300s somewhere, they decide that Christmas should maybe be where the Roman Saturnalia is and the birth of Apollo and Krishna and Odin and all these other solar renewal heroes, that the sun is born again and it's no longer that they're born in the darkest. Krishna only comes at the darkest time, and then he comes to light, throughout the year. And then the light, and so we breathe out into the world and we breathe back into our inner spirit soul, our more immortal self. And so the 12 days of Christmas, you can predict the following months. If you start at Christmas time of December 25th, it goes to like 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. January 6th and is the day of when the 3 wise men who follow the star find the baby Jesus. So you have Mary, Joseph, and the baby Jesus, again, as a symbolism of spirit, soul, body. And we have the three wise men as that symbol too. I mean, we see these certain images again and again. And so these 12 days of Christmas, again, we could go into even the song, the 12 days of Christmas, and on the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me. Again, it's about true love. Finding your true love is finding the soulmate of your higher self and people that help support your higher self. That's the true love. The true love is the Christos or the Buddha mind and nature. The true love is the universal good, true, and beautiful. It's the Atma Buddha Manas, the Brahma Vishnu Shiva, the Osiris Isis Horus, all these great trinities of the universal mind and the universal mother and father. And meditating on this for Christmas, that my thinking, feeling, and willing, I can learn to be still in my heart as a middle way between my head and my belly. And breathe into my heart and be still and wait for the light to illumine me, and that I can wish for enlightenment and bless the world. And so this January 6 is also the baptism. And they used to celebrate not the birth of Jesus, that's when the three wise men found him, but it was the same day that John the Baptist baptizes Jesus when he's 30. And then he is baptized by the fire of the Holy Spirit simultaneously. So the fire of the star above comes down, and the fire and the water comes up. And that is the Christmas tree, I am the Christmas tree. I am that I truly am, of fire and water, the great mother and father of everything and nothing, basically. Our connection to everything in the universe, the great mother, and I go to the Father in secret. Or is it that the inner self is the great Jagat Yoni that Blavatsky talks about, the great mother, the great womb of the great universe through the apple in your eye, and that the Father, Osiris, that dies and is born again every year, the fatherland, as a reference to it, is born again every year. That's the outer world. It doesn't matter because the great mother and father are still lovers. Truth and love are still intimate. The real question is whether we can find a mind, our mind, that's sense-bound thinking and stuck on only things we can materialistically experience. Can it be still enough to awaken this higher divinity? And that is the question. Can we awaken a mind that can understand and pierce the materialistic veil of like Halloween? When we die and our virtues and non-virtues are exaggerated, on nighttime, all the nighttime kind of experiences are more spiritual than the daytime festivals. And so at Halloween, we go out on the streets begging to get back incarnated. And we look at the porch, the two pillars of the legs of the cathedral, and the mom and dad come to the porch light, the light of love. The porch light represents the light of love. And we try to beg to get in, and the mother and father come to the door at Halloween, and they see this exaggerated virtue or non-virtue, and they either chase you away and trick you, or they treat you to come in, and then the mom has a big pumpkin stomach with a candle inside. Again, the belly of incarnation and a baby in the belly. And this is the whole mystery of the going to the graveyard and dying and getting born again, and the Halloween. All the festivals represent spiritual truths of our spiritual soul and reincarnation. Like All Saints Day is the festival after Halloween that we all make it. The ancient pagan thing was all of us eventually are children of God. We will all make it to enlightenment. We'll be at the top of the tree. We'll be the many different experiences, and we'll be at the bottom of the tree. Now, I've said way a lot. I've talked for over 33 minutes. And this is Robert Thibodeau of the Mayflower Bookshop. If you have any questions, send them to me. I want to thank Susan for helping me here with a question again. And she brought up a lot of questions beforehand that I covered here. And I hope that you can awaken the deep waters to experience the star at the top of your tree, and that the Ida Pingala will rise with the Shushamna, and the negative and positive will balance each other out. The good and evil, the tree of good and evil, are like the Ida Pingala and Kundalini, the positive and negative electromagnetic forces that crisscross, and whenever they cross, our chakras appear. and they go to the very high third eye, and they dive down to the deeper bottom and rise again. But the fire of the Kundalini can also descend from above over the apostles' heads, and they descend it descends onto the birthplace of the Christos within our heart. The womb of the heart is in The Voice of the Silence by Blavatsky, a book I love, The Voice of the Silence, that we sell at Mayflower along with Key to Theosophy. And that what happens is she talks about the Kundalini of the Great Mother that comes out of the heart. And remember that when you say mom, their om is in there. May you get enlightenment. May you awaken and find true friends that help you with spirituality and to alleviate the negativity in your life and to overflow with positivity so you can be the gift. You can be the Christmas presence, the Christos presence, the Krishna presence, the Om Mani Padme Hum presence. When you say Om, you're talking about the star over the tree, and you're talking about Buddha and the Solar Logos, and the emptiness of the O and the M is the trinity of the Atma Buddha Manas, with the emptiness practice. And so Mani Padme Hum are the three wise men, the wise men of the mind and the flowering heart and the divine will. So with this, I leave you, my friends who listen to this. Please think about supporting these podcasts and the cost of computers and all that in the website. And you can Mayflower, you can support it with PayPal at mflower@aol.com. It's on my website. Or you can send us books to help Mayflower. We loan books to people that need them, and we share books. We sell books to support and pay the bills. So I give a little advertisement for helping us out. And I hope that I benefited you by wisdom knowledge so that you can benefit others. And one day will come where we're all brothers and sisters and one family. We're all putting our meaningful ornament of the wisdom of our experience on a universal tree that holds us all. That when you look at all the different beads on the tree and the mala and the ornaments and the lights, that everyone's there. Everybody is part of the tree, the star over our head, and the heart, and the body, spiritual body. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om 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 Om. I like Om Mani Padme Hum. It's very simple, old mantra from ancient India. Probably came from Atlantis. The Bhagavad Gita, Blavatsky says, was a treatise on initiation from Atlantis. And Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr. read the Bhagavad Gita. And I like Judge's edition. Gandhi read that, and he said that it inspired him to free the attempt of slavery by the British on India. And Martin Luther King Jr. read it because he wanted to get rid of the slavery attempt here in America. So the real slave that we are is a slave to our addictions. And may we all be purified of being a slave to our addictions and our negativity. And may we find enough selflessness to walk in every man and woman's moccasins, like the Native American Indian suggested, so that we can experience what everybody experiences, and we can love our neighbor as ourselves. That the real teachings of Christianity were love, that God is love, and truth is what protects love. And truth is that we're everything and nothing, and we have a mind that can be creative. When you're creative with all creation, it really gives a lot of happiness. Socrates said that happiness was, this pursuit of happiness we have. Happiness is when we awaken a more fuller participation in co-creativity with all of our life, the whole of our life, and the future destiny of the earth. May all of us find enlightenment and happiness. Om, 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 Mani Padme Hum. And may we follow our highest star to birth the presence in our everyday life. Hey, thank you, and bless your hearts. And the word heart spells earth, and that's really, when you breathe into your heart, you're going to find true earth to plant your tree and the middle way of Buddha. And that's where the Christos is glorified, between the murderer and the thief. Like Christ, accordingly, Jesus is crucified between a murderer and a thief. The thief thinks you have it in the hand and you own it. and the murderer murders is a porn freak in the head of like just seeing a picture of something rather than experiencing the heart of everything. The heart's where it's at, and that can redeem the murderer and the thief of Lucifer Ahriman in Steiner-esque vocabulary. The Christos is everything, nothing in a mind. It's the universal truth, love, and awareness. Bless your heart. Om.